Welcome back to part 5 of our live training session here with our Honda Civic Si. We're going to be taking a look at doing our wide open throttle tuning on our low cam of operation. Without further wait, let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our K24 swapped Civic Si. In this training module, we're going to be taking a look at doing the rest of the calibration process on our low cam or non-VTEC operation. This is going to be going through all of the other variable cam pairings for fuel and spark timing, so 10, 20, 30, 40, and even 50 degrees. We're going to dial everything in from part throttle and wide open throttle. Now, we've done a lot of work recalibrating and restructuring our 0-degree fuel and spark timing tables. We spent the time dialing those in because we can use that particular table as a basis into the next variable cam pairing. So the last tutorial, we copied our 0-degree fuel and spark timing table. So if we bump down here, we copied our 0 into our 10. So our 0 to our 10 is now going to be what we have it locked in here for our variable cam mapping. We can see it's all set at 10 degrees. Now the process of going through and recalibrating the different variable cam pairings, so I'm going to lock it at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, we're going to find that it's going to be the exact same tuning procedure as what we've already described. Now the one thing I do want to point out here is that when we are dialing in something like our spark timing going from 0 to 10 degrees, we can get away with, in general, a few more degrees of spark timing without running into knock. As we start to advance the cam target here, so going from 0 to 10, we'll find that we can actually pick up additional power and torque, and the engine can breathe a little bit better, and as a result, the cylinder pressure drops just slightly, and we'll find that the engine is less knock sensitive. So we're finding that we can get away with a little bit more spark advance without that penalty of getting into knock. So what I'm going to do is dial everything in here on our 10-degree fuel table here first, and then we'll look at bumping in our spark timing a little bit. Generally speaking, we can usually add another 1 to 2 degrees from our 0-degree spark timing table that we've dialed in to our 10-degree, and then vice versa is going from 10 to 20, 20 to 30. You usually can bump that up a little bit, another degree or two each time you move up in variable cam angle. When you go from 30 to 40 or 40 to 50, it doesn't seem like it responds the same, so I usually run the same timing in 30 degrees, 40, and 50 degree variable cam tables respectively as I'm going through and dialing things in. So the engine is up to operating temperature. We can see it's about 182 right now, so we should be pretty much ready to go. What I'm going to do is actually fire up the engine. I'm going to do a drive. I'm not going to capture this on camera, so I'm going to drive it real quick, and then we'll go ahead and dial in whatever changes we need to in the part throttle area here. So we'll just get off our live trace. Anything in our part throttle on our 10 degrees. So that's essentially 1 to probably 40% throttle. We're going to dial this in, and then we'll do a full throttle pull. We'll see what kind of power it makes, and then we can also experiment with adding another degree or two at timing, and then we can move on to the next variable cam angle. So we're going to keep going. Now, we've already tuned this particular engine when it was in the basic bolt-on state. So we had a skunk 2 intake manifold, single throttle body, cold air intake, same exact, essentially bolt-ons, exhaust, and same modifications under the engine. I just swapped out that skunk 2 intake throttle body and cold air intake for the individual throttle bodies. But when we were doing that process, we found that about 30 to 40 degrees was the most we could run in variable cam timing and not lose power. So we'll probably find the same trend here with these individual throttle bodies. Now, if I had a better exhaust, if I had a more free-flowing exhaust, this is about 2 3/8, I believe, on this exhaust size. If I had a larger exhaust and a little bit better header, this has some type of a race header, but it's specific to the EP3 chassis, so it's not the best header. If I had a better exhaust setup and I had different cams, we'd be able to probably run completely different variable cam timing. A lot more, at least with stock cams, we could run a lot more cam timing, and we would see a definite difference in power output going to aftermarket cams with these large throttle bodies. So we may not actually see a whole lot of difference in power output from the other live training tutorial to this training tutorial in terms of swapping just the intake side, so going from that skunk 2 intake, throttle body, and cold air intake to the individual throttle bodies. These are huge throttle bodies. There's a really better suited to an engine, has a huge cam, a lot more compression, and being able to move a lot more airflow. This head hasn't been ported, so there's a lot of disadvantages to this. A lot of times if you put a breathing mod like ITB's on an engine that just can't simply ingest that extra additional amount of airflow, you don't get any positive gain in power. You'll find that power is pretty similar to a plenum style intake. I've seen this plenty of times in the past, not just with K-series, it's across all kinds of different engines. So we're gonna see what this does, but I'm probably gonna be expecting it's gonna be similar power output, if I had to guess, compared to the previous state with that single throttle body plenum style intake manifold. So I'm gonna go ahead, fire it up right now. I'm gonna drive it off camera. We're gonna come back in here, make our update changes, then we'll do our full throttle pull, and we're gonna repeat that cycle for each variable cam angle, probably up to about 30, 40 degrees. I don't think we're gonna touch 50. I think we'll find we lose power just as we found when it was still the intake manifold throttle body setup. We'll probably see that it's not gonna respond, and that's mostly because we don't have a very good exhaust setup on this. Again, we don't have a real good race header. We don't have a larger exhaust, so we're limited. We back up a little bit in terms of being able to not run that amount of overlap. So we can't run that 45, 50 degree range where we would see a potential power gain if we had a better free-flowing exhaust. We start to back up, and what actually happens is during the overlap period, so we start to advance the cam, we get more overlap, we'll find at higher RPM our exhaust pressure picks up exponentially, and we'll get a blowback effect where the exhaust pressure will actually push back into the combustion chamber, and then we'll get a dilution of fresh air charge in the combustion chamber, also an increase of knock sensitivity because we're now introducing hot exhaust gas into the combustion chamber, which is obviously a disadvantage. So we'll keep an open mind, but that's the trend I'm expecting to see here, that we're not gonna be able to run much more than 30, 40 degrees on our variable cam target on low cam. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, fire it up here. I'm gonna get started. We'll come back in here, review the log, and we'll just continue this process, and we'll keep rolling through the tutorial. All right, I'll be back here in a few minutes. All right, so I drove it here for a few minutes on the mainline chassis dyno, and I've populated out the table pretty well. Let's take a look at the results of driving here. And thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.